Finally, we are starting to see now the 7000 series when it comes to mini PCs. This model that was sent out to me is the Beelink GTR7. So it's powered by the Ryzen 7 7840HS, and that is a very powerful APU. It's got 8 cores, 16 threads, 5.1 gigahertz is the maximum turbo, and it does have the 780M for its graphics. So the most powerful integrated graphics currently that's out, and the RAM speeds are no slouch either in this model. So 5600 megahertz. It's got 2 PCIe 4 slots. It has 2 LAN ports, and it also can display and run 4 displays at the same time. So it's a mini PC that's got a huge amount of power in it. I'll be going through it all in detail, and I'll let you know the full pros and cons that I have encountered. Included in the box of our Beelink mini PC, you'll find this, the GT series mini PC user manual. There's a card that just has hello on one side. On the other, they're just stating how they have increased the power limit from the default maximum of 54 watts up to 65. There is a long HDMI to HDMI cable, a short one. This is the one that you would use if you are going to use the VESA mounting bracket, which is right here. And then we have a power supply. This is 120 watts, EU1 of course, and they're using this new magnetic connector for it. So it has a metal build along the outside here. It's metal on the bottom, and you'll see the GTR branding. Now we've got a headphone jack here, so that is 3.5 millimeters with mic support. Type-C USB 3.2, Type-A USB 3.2, clear CMOS, great if you happen to mess up any of the BIOS settings, and our power button with status LED. Now on the other side of it here, you'll see we've got a large exit vent there. You can see all of the cooling fins. So they do have a new vapor chamber inside. Now I won't be doing a full teardown of it. I'll show you the internals, but I don't go that far anymore. I do not remove this. The coolers over the top of the APUs because I want to retain the factory paste job and everything. So it's been reviewed, as is the thermals out of the box. So the other 3.5 millimeter headphone jack there with mic. We've got 2 here, USB 4.0s. Now they're full spec ones, so it's 40 gigabits per second, very quick. 2.5 gigabit LAN ports, 2 of those. HDMI, this is 2.1, DisplayPort 1.4a. And we've got the new power plug right there underneath. USB 3.2 and then 2 USB 2s, ideal for your mouse and keyboard. Left and right, we do have some vents here, so I'll be sucking the cool air in from the sides, but also the top, which you can see has a new design this time around. So we've got this mesh over it that will eventually attract a little bit of dust on the top of it, but it should be easy enough to clean. So the fan's just below here, I can see it. So this is where the bulk of the cooler air will be sucked in. We've got a fingerprint reader too on the top of it. So this is great. You can log in without having to set up a password. You can set up Windows Hello, fingerprint reader, and just log in with that. 2 mounting points there for the VESA mounting bracket, and we do have 4 screws here to remove. There's a little tab here used to pull off this rear plate. Now I do like the build quality and the design of their mini PCs. Been a big fan of them for a long time, so that is easy enough to remove. Okay, we're greeted here with a lot of plastic. So they've got this system cooler here. That's keeping all the internals cool there. There's a heat sink as well right here that is over where the SSDs are. So this obviously I need to lift out. So just a few screws holding the plastic bracket in. Now you can lift it up then and just put it to one side is all you need to really do. You can unplug it here and here. There are 2 plugs, but I won't bother with that. Now you can see that there are 2 nice thick thermal pads there using that area at the top as our heatsink for the SSDs. Now both of the slots, they are NVMe. This is PCIe 4.0 and they're 2280 in size. So you can see I can install one more if I wanted to. Now we've got both of our RAM sticks here, DDR5, and it's 5600 megahertz. So they've gone for the faster RAM spec here. Great to see because a lot of brands just use 4800. So very easy to replace our Wi-Fi 6 card right here. BIOS battery is there too as well. And we've got everything we need just lifting this out. So pretty easy for upgrades, and you can change all the major components here. Now, one of the best things about Beelink for me is that they're one of the few companies now that does leave the BIOSes completely unlocked. So we have all of those advanced settings. You can see RAM disk configuration there, which is great. Even AMD overclocking menu. Now, that's in there twice for some reason, but you can't really do much with this. That is precision boost overdrive. I would not mess about with that. But if you want overclocking kind of settings, it'll be under this one, AMD CBS. So you need to go into the common options. You've got your graphics configuration, so you can then set this. This is specific, so it's going to dedicate RAM. Now, because I've got 32 gigabytes of RAM with this particular model here, it's too dedicated to the 780, but you can swap it over here and put it onto Game Optimize, which I believe will then dedicate 4. Now, that helps improve the lower FPS, okay? It won't make too much of a difference, but it could smooth out some gameplay and some demanding games. But I'm not going to touch any of that. I'm going to keep it on the default settings here. Audio configuration. Okay, there's a few other things in there too. So AC power loss options. So if you were going to run this as a server or you just want to set this, you can put always on, previous, reserved, auto. Good options to have. SMU common options. So there's a lot of different other things here to do with the fan if you want to mess about with that. Thermal control. I wouldn't recommend touching really anything unless you really know what you are doing. There probably might even be settings in there for RAM, but maybe not. So chipset, you've got more options here. You can see Southbridge, Northbridge doesn't seem to show up anything. Okay, that's just about the RAM, but you can see that it's running at the proper speed there, the 5,600 megahertz. So I'll get out of this and we'll jump into Windows. So we have ourselves here a highly spec'd mini PC. So we've got the DDR5 RAM running at 5,600 megahertz. Now there is about 4, not quite, dedicated to the Radeon 780M graphics. You can tweak that if you want through the BIOS, but I would just leave it. Windows 11 Pro, and it goes without saying really, the performance of this mini PC, just general task, multitasking, everything I do on it is very quick. Loads up really fast. Now, you'll see that we do have the APU listed here in the device manager 16 times because it's got 16 threads. It has 8 physical cores. So that is in a way, yes, falling behind a little Intel with their performance cores and their efficiency cores, but it's still working and working really well, especially that integrated graphics. Now, the weak point of this particular mini PC is this, that it's Wi-Fi 6 and not Wi-Fi 6. So you can upgrade that. You can swap out that little card, but do note the antennas are glued on with a black, what seems almost like a nail polish kind of glue. You'd have to chip away at that to get the connectors back on a Wi-Fi 6E upgraded card if you were to go that route and do that. So the SSD, it is this one here. Sorry, that's my own external drive. It's a CT1000P3 PSSD8. The speeds of it for PCIe 4.0 spec, a little disappointing. Only the sequential read is good there. I mean, it's fast, but it's really almost the SSD in its entirety about PCIe 3.0 speeds. Now, if you wanted quicker, again, you can upgrade this. You could put a Samsung 990 Pro in this and get some blazing fast 7,500 megabytes per second sequential reads and writes. You can do that. There's a second slot on there as well. You could run RAID 0, RAID 1, I believe. Yes, that is possible. So spec-wise, very potent. Now, when you have a look at our benchmarks, Cinebench R23, really good score here. What has surprised me is the boost with the 7000 series now on the single core score. So they've done well to increase that AMD. Multi-core score there, excellent, very good. Now you will note that I ran the minimum test duration as not 10 minutes, but off. And why have I done this? I'm not trying to make it look good. I've run into issues. If I leave it on the 10-minute mark, it would reboot the mini PC now and then. And I'm getting tired of it doing that. So this is the only fault I can find with this mini PC, and it's only happened in Cinebench R23. However, it's very annoying. Otherwise, it is very stable as long as I don't run that for a 10-minute stress test. So the other benchmarks I have covered here, Geekbench 6, again, impressive. Now the step up here, we've got on performance. So that increase is great to see, and a multi-core score there too as well. This thing is an absolute monster, especially factoring in the size of it. Integrated graphics. Now, this is the key reason to go for this. because it is very good. Even though AMD drivers can be a little bit funny, I always seem to have problems with them, but look at this performance. For integrated graphics, this is outstanding. This is a big step up over Iris Xe, even the 96 executional units, and even a slight step up from the previous 680M. Here with Night Raid, it's posted the best score I've seen with integrated graphics, especially that graphics score there, 34,000, just over. That is impressive. And Firestrike here too. Another very solid score. Really great to see this step up with integrated graphics. 4K decoding now. This is Chrome. I'm going to go here into YouTube. Okay, I need to accept all of this and make this full screen. And it is with the 4K setting. Great. And enable, of course, our stats. Now, I expect this to drop basically no frames whatsoever, which it is not. And the buffer health is very good, around 26, 25 seconds here at the moment, although it's dropping down. Oh, there we go. It's back to 40. So that is great. So it can decode this. It's not using the VP9 codec here, but AV01, but still for 4K. Excellent job. I'll just skip ahead. And that's normal that it dropped 3 frames there. Okay, that is just standard. It will always now and then drop 1 or 2, but that's great. Really solid decoding performance for 4K. Video editing now with Adobe Premiere Pro. So this is a 4K clip, and I just wanted to point out the RAM speeds. Yes, they are correct. It's dual channel, all good. And I'm just going to keep this open here. Now you see the timeline. This is a very basic edit. The playback is not dropping any frames. That's only with the quarter playback resolution. So I can set this to even half if I wanted to do so. It is looking promising, very good to performance, but I have noticed it still doesn't quite feel like the combination of, say, CPU and a dedicated GPU. So if I had an RTX 3050 even, I've noticed that it would just be a little bit smoother here with the CUDA cores, but this happens to be the best I have ever seen it running when it comes to just pure integrated graphics. So now I'm going to go over and export 1 minute of footage at the YouTube preset, and we'll see how long it takes to encode 4K video. So just to point out where my cursor is, 1 minute of footage. It is the YouTube preset, and I do have my timer here. So start on that and export. I do imagine this is going to be very quick, and I'm curious to see if it's going to use the integrated graphics. It is. It's using only about 20%. CPU is around 65 there, and this is very quick. Now, will it be as quick as Intel, which uses QuickSync? Adobe products tend to favor Intel, I have discovered, and this is looking like it is almost the same. In fact, this is actually faster than the 13700H I've just reviewed and covered for a mini PC. So that's around approximately 26, 27 seconds. Excellent encoding performance here for 4K YouTube preset with Adobe Premiere Pro. Then what most of you probably want to find out is, can it actually game a little? Now, do remember this is about half the performance of an NVIDIA RTX 3050 desktop version. Yes, it's about half if you take a look at the 3D Mark scores. So video, I'm going to run this on 1080p here, and I've set it to the medium preset. Okay, so click medium, and that is definitely 1080p. VSync, of course, is off. Let's jump into some gameplay here. Noticed how there's barely any throttling happening. Take a look at our GPU clocks. You can see it does throttle down to 2.4, but most of the time it is sitting around 2700 megahertz, which is the top maximum turbo here for the 780M. Now, it's probably still the power limits, even though they have Beelink set this to 65 watts. It's still the power limits, I think, that's dropping it down, causing it to throttle now and then when there's a bit of action going on. So on average, around just over 50 frames per second. That, you'll hear me say this a lot, that's fantastic. For integrated graphics, 1080p, medium settings for The Witcher, this is absolutely perfect. It's playable. Ideally, I'd like to see over 60 frames per second, but I cannot complain considering how small it is. Integrated graphics, and I'm in a town here, so densely populated, a lot to render. You've got the NPCs and everything. Very, very good performance here. And the temperatures, well, we'll check on those shortly. This is a in-game benchmark, Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Now, I do have the settings again set to medium, and it is, again, yes, 1080p. So I'll run this benchmark, and I'll show you our result.
So just 46 frames per second average. That's not amazing 1080p. So what I'm going to do now is change the settings to low and 720p. Okay, so that's just finished. It's 75 frames per second, so that's recommended. I would game at 720p on, well, actually, no, sorry, look, it's the medium graphics preset. So I just lowered the resolution and look at the difference it made. It almost, not quite, but almost doubled our frame rate. So game at 720p with the very demanding newer titles. Finally, GTA 5. So with the exact same settings on the last mini PC I tested out with IrisXe graphics with its 96 executional units, it was averaging around 70 to 80 frames per second. So this is a good 20 or over % faster than Intel's fastest running GTA 5 here. Just on average here that I'm seeing. So really good performance again. And you could tweak those settings down or up if you wanted to improve the visual quality, just lower the FPS a little. Or you could lower the resolution to 720p and just max everything out. But it is very playable here. You can see looking great. Then trying to boot the latest Linux Manjaro distro. It will boot up. Everything is fine, but it doesn't detect our wireless card for some reason. So I can see the two LAN ports right there, Intel LAN, but no Wi-Fi card for some reason. Finally, after all of that, the thermals are looking very good indeed. So you can see 86 degrees. Their vapor chamber is doing its job. It has not triggered any thermal throttling, although I can see the DDR5 temperatures. Wow, okay, they hit 95 degrees, peaked at that. That's not really that good to be running RAM always those kind of temperatures. Now I understand why they do have that fan in there, but we almost need to have heat sinks on the RAM with those kind of temperatures. So the rest of it is looking pretty good. Now, physically, if I touch the unit, it does feel quite hot to the touch. Now, I've measured this with my probe, and it is about 48 degrees Celsius. The underside of it and the surface. Now, I've just been running it sitting on top of a desk. It has not been propped up at all, which you could do if you want it to be a little cooler. Now, wattage, power cores pulled 618 watts. Okay, that's not correct, obviously, but 65 is. That's the power limit we do have set here. And from the wall, I've seen it peak over 130 watts, only for just a split second or so. That's running like Cinebench, pulling it really hard. So that could be the reason why it ended up powering off. It just didn't have enough power when you push it really, really hard. That caused it to reboot itself. Fan noise, I'll give you a sample of that now, but I gotta say, for the power that's in this, the fan noise is excellent.
So there we go, a fantastic mini PC from Beelink. What I really like about this company is the fact that they let the BIOS be completely tweaked because it's fully unlocked. A lot of other brands just simply don't do that. They lock it down, they don't want us to get into trouble. We've got the reset CMOS button there on the front. So the build quality, excellent. The options, port-wise, very good. I mean, it's got you covered. You've got USB 4.0, that's the full 40 gigabit per second. You've got the two PCIe 4 slots. You've got the RAM slots you can upgrade, and Wi-Fi 6 is a bit of a disappointment. It should have Wi-Fi 6E, and then that spec sheet would be fully complete, basically, wouldn't it? So the Radeon, that 780M, absolutely fantastic performance for integrated graphics. It is a tweak up from the 680M, which was already good, but aided by the fact that we have the 5.6 gigahertz RAM speeds with this model. That's definitely benefiting the graphics performance, having this faster RAM speeds. Now, as I showed you, I encountered a little bit of throttling when it came to the GPU. So the maximum clock is 2.7 gigahertz. It would sometimes throttle down to about 2.4. It was restricted a little bit with the power limits, but Beelink has done a good job increasing those power limits to 65 watts, and that's why we get a little bit more performance out of the integrated graphics than, say, a laptop using the same chip, and even slightly better, but not really that much in it, our Cinebench R23 scores. Now, this is where I did encounter a bit of a problem, because when I ran Cinebench R23, tried to do the stress test for 10 or 30 minutes, it would reboot itself. I would come back, I'll go and get a coffee, come back and go, oh dear, there's all of this stuff that I had saved, or open, should I say, gone, because it's all closed off, reset, back in Windows again. So it looks to me, what I can see so far is it's a bit of a power problem. It seems to draw too much power, the power supply can't seem to handle it, and it cuts out. And I was running an external hard drive too as well. Now, I've just seen the same issue with a recent mini PC that I did cover, but that one has an Intel chip in it, so it's the 13700H, but similar kind of issue there. So all up, it's an excellent mini PC. I hope they have a BIOS update or maybe an upgraded power supply or some sort of fix for that powering off and rebooting issue. That's the only thing really that I can criticize about this unit. The thermals are fantastic. Fan noise, you hear it when it's being pushed hard, but under light loads, it's very quiet. And if it is mounted on the VESA mounting bracket behind your monitor, you probably won't even hear it at all. Blazing fast, really quick, plenty of expansion options. It's an absolute winner. Just wait for that fix, because that rebooting problem, the reliability of this or the uptime could be an issue. And Linux, yes, there's going to be driver issues. If you want to hunt around and find how to get the drivers to work, then you could be in for a bit of a mission there. But thank you so much for watching my review here of the GTR7 Ryzen 7 7840HS mini PC from Beelink.